What gets us angry? Where does our anger lead? G'day, thanks for joining me as we consider God's Word from the book of Mark. Today we're looking at Mark chapter 3 verses 1 to 6, which follows the Sabbath theme from last week. Remember how he watched Jesus and his disciples? They upset the apple cart by ignoring Sabbath traditions. Remember how his disciples plucked the grain on their way through a field? And if that's not bad enough, Jesus goes on to proclaim himself Lord of the Sabbath. Not only does he override, well-established tradition, but he claims an authority greater than the law itself, a law given by God himself. And really, who could possibly have authority greater than God's law? Well, God gave the law, the 10 Commandments, so he has greater authority. Because he's the one who gave the law. And here's Jesus claiming to be Lord over the Sabbath, Lord over the law itself. Quite the striking claim. Well, can he back it up? It's one thing to make the claim, another one to go through with it. Well, let's see. It's probably later on that same day, and they're back at the synagogue where Jesus healed that demon-possessed man. And this time, there is some serious tension in the room. Jesus, he's proven himself no ally to the establishment. Let's hear it again. Mark chapter 3 from verse 1. Jesus entered the synagogue again, and a man was there who had a shriveled hand. In order to accuse him, they were watching him closely to see whether he would heal him on the Sabbath. He told the man with the shriveled hand, "Stand before us." Then he said to them, "Is it lawful to do good on the Sabbath or to do evil? To save a life or to kill?" But they were silent. After looking around at them with anger, he was grieved at the hardness of their hearts and told the man, "Stretch out your hand." So he stretched it out, and his hand was restored. Immediately the Pharisees went out and started plotting with the Herodians against him, how they might kill him. Having upset the Pharisees, the religious leaders, they're now all in the synagogue, and these Pharisees, they want an excuse to accuse Jesus of doing something wrong. And so it appears there's a setup. A man with a shriveled hand is placed somewhere, it's super obvious, right? Now, what is the bad thing they want Jesus to do? What evil do they want Jesus to commit so they can accuse him of being a lawbreaker, get him in trouble? To heal the guy? That's the bad thing? Well, you see, healing is for some people work, and it's the Sabbath, and according to their tradition, you're not allowed to heal, doctor, because that's kind of work on the Sabbath. You can see how messed up it's getting. In their desire to protect God's law, as if it needed protecting, in order to make sure no one accidentally broke the law of the Sabbath by making all these extra laws, we find ourselves in a situation where you're not allowed to help someone on the Sabbath. That healing someone would be considered evil. It's a contradiction Jesus very quickly brings to light. He doesn't have to live with that. And so we read verse 3. He told the man with the shriveled hand, "Stand before us." He's not backward and stepping forward, is he? You want to accuse me for healing? All right, you're on. He sets this poor guy, out in front of everyone. Let's get this out in the open. And so verse 4, he says to him, "All right, is it lawful?" Let's use your own language here. Is it lawful to do good on the Sabbath or to do evil? To save life or to kill? What's the greater law? I mean, it should be a simple question. There's no bonus points for getting this one right. But what do we read? They were silent. They were silent. They couldn't force themselves to admit that their own test was foolishness. I mean, the Sunday school answer is, do good, not evil. Save a life, don't kill. I mean, I can imagine toddlers going, I'm confident with this answer. Surely this is the will of God, the heart of God. But the heart of God was not shared by these angry, these bitter but silent men. And Jesus gets angry. Verse 5, after looking around at them with anger, he was grieved at the hardness of their hearts, and he told the man, stretch out your hand. So he stretched it out, and his hand was restored. Jesus, he's angered at the self-righteous hatred of these men, that they couldn't even speak or acknowledge the most basic of truths, that to do good is better than to do evil. To save a life is so much better than to kill. But they cannot allow themselves to be wrong. And in their pride, they'd rather be right and hateful. Jesus gets angry. He's angry at the hard, hateful heart of these men. But in his anger, he calls out their double standards. He stands up for what is good. In his anger, he restores a man's hand, his livelihood. He restores that which is true. Basic truth that to do good is better than to do evil. But the Pharisees, what do they do in their anger? What does their anger lead to? Verse 6, immediately the Pharisees went out and started plotting with the Herodians against him, how they might kill him. So great is their anger that these religious leaders, they start cooperating with the Herodians. Now, who are the Herodians? These are guys who have seen the Romans come in, just conquer nation after nation after nation. These Herodians, they realise that King Herod, representing the Roman establishment, why fight against him? We can make a better buck. We can get ahead if we just, admit the fact that we're conquered. The Romans have beaten us. Yes, as a compromise, we've got to swear allegiance to Rome and worship the emperor. But, you just got to get with the times, move on. You've got to be relevant. And so these Herodians are people they've betrayed their nation. They've betrayed their loyalty to their faith and to their religion. They just want to get ahead. They're very pragmatic people. How could Pharisees, religious leaders, partner with Herodians? The Pharisees were longing for God's kingdom to be re-established. They hated the fact they were conquered by the Romans. They were under the thumb of the Roman government. They hated that Herod made heaps of compromises to appease the Roman nation. And here they are allying themselves to the Herodians. Well, they make an alliance with national traitors in order to kill the one who would have us do what is good on the Sabbath. To kill the one who demonstrated in front of everyone that he really is the Lord of the Sabbath. I mean, he declared it in the previous narrative, but this time he actually demonstrates it by healing a man once again. Before it was a demon-possessed man, a Sabbath a while back, but he's demonstrating by what he does, he is the Lord of the Sabbath. And they're angry at him for it. What gets us angry? Confession time, is it the slow drivers who speed up when you get a chance to overtake? Those people who drive really slow in one lane and then as soon as you get a chance to overtake them, they speed up so you can't overtake them? Is it people who put butter in the honey jar? I don't know. What gets us angry? What does our anger lead to? Well, Jesus, he's angry at the hard heart that refuses to love his or her neighbour. He's grieved by the hard heart that cannot see that God's law was given for our good so that we could love each other. And unlike is so often the case elsewhere, Jesus' anger, it leads to restoration, to the truth. Who is this Jesus, this Lord of the Sabbath?